Talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. The IntelleXual Podcast starts now.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the IntelleXual Podcast. I'm your host, David S. Dawson. Whitney is not with us yet. She might join us eventually. She had dinner plans tonight, and if it gets done early enough, she will be here. Tonight, we're going to be chatting with Clarke M. Smith, filmmaker here in San Diego, who IntelleXual Entertainment partnered with recently to help put together a feature film, which is now available on various streaming platforms. And I think we'll just jump right into it and start having a conversation with Clarke about the film Mystery Highway. How you doing, Clarke?
I'm great. How's it going?
It's going well. Look at us. We're big. Now we're big.
I love it.
Fun with switching. Yay. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. It's a Sunday night. I don't have the Sunday night blues like I usually get because I work tomorrow, but I'm okay.
Yeah, I kind of miss the days didn't matter once upon a time during pandemic because I didn't have a job, and it didn't matter what day of the week it was all the same.
Yep, right.
Yeah, I got to work tomorrow too. So yeah, that early morning is rapidly approaching.
It is.
You want to tell us a little bit about Mystery Highway and just a little synopsis of it for those of us who are unfamiliar?
Yeah, it's got a long, convoluted history. I'll try to be kind of brief about it. Way back in 2004, I made a feature shot on mini DV called The Ethereal Plane. Kind of reminds me of your What's the Vig kind of project. It was a feature, zero budget. And long story short, I found an agent who took it to the AFM. She had it sold to a distributor in Thailand, so I had to get it dubbed in Thai, which was kind of exciting. Got a couple $1,000 out of the deal, and she was like, "Hey, send me another feature. We'll do this again, and you get an even bigger deal." Well, as you can see, it took 15, 20 years or whatever to actually get it done. And by the time I did get it done, it was kind of too late. She kind of told me the industry changed a lot. She doesn't go to AFM anymore, so she's like, "You're better off with Film Hub and stuff like that." But anyway, the film itself is a group of 6 short films that already exist, already in the can. And you and I and some others devised a way to put them together into a feature-length movie with a wraparound story. And that's one of the things that my agent at the time suggested I do, and I did it, and it took us a while to get it done.
Yeah, it did. We've got the trailer. Should I roll that and let everybody have a glimpse at it?
Yeah, I don't know which one you have. There's a couple, but go ahead.
It's one of the ones I found on YouTube. So
okay.
we'll see which one I got.
Okay.
and we'll go from there. Bring this up here, and away we go.
Yeah, this is the latest one.
That's right, folks. This is George Bell, broadcasting from my secret location deep in the heart of the country. If you're tuning in for the very first time, buckle up. We've got a bumpy road of twisted tales just ahead.
Why do you need to forget?
Oh, it's too painful, Lizzie.
Freaking crazy-ass Joe is certified nuts, if you ask me.
She's a beauty, ain't she? Come and have a drink.
Guess one drink couldn't hurt.
Her work here is all she has.
What exactly is this mission of yours?
The way you're going, you should be in hospice by the end of the week or so.
I should be ready by then. You know, I've been in my lab working a lot, and I don't want to forget who you are to me. Our lives can be taken away in an instant. You just never know when it could happen.
If you're just tuning in, be forewarned, some of tonight's content is not for the faint of heart.
Damn, that's some freaky deaky shit right there.
That's the red band trailer, apparently.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was fun to make. That was fun.
So, obviously, it's an old school collection of short stories, kind of in the vein of like a Twilight Zone or an Outer Limits kind of deal. And hello to my friend Sonic, Dan. Glad you're joining us. He says hello in the comments on YouTube. Lovely to see you here, Dan. So you had already kind of created a bunch of these shorts when you were making them, and I know you made them for like various competitions. You made them for your own sake. Did you have an idea while you were doing that you might try to string them all together down the road, or is that something that literally kind of came up later?
It did come up later. I had 3 shorts done, 3 shorts, and then there's a 4th one, which is You or Me, which is the one in the end of the movie, Mystery Highway. But I didn't know until after I had 3 movies that I was going to do a compilation idea, and I didn't have enough movies, so I knew I had to do another one, and I still didn't have enough. That's when you chimed in and gave us your movie Discontinuance, and by then we had a pretty good 90-minute movie on our hands. So it wasn't at first. It was just when I realized I had enough, and I kind of thought that they had a common thread of some sort. I was trying to kind of maybe reaching a little bit, but I think, kind of genre characters. We have a ghost story, we have an alien story, we have a Satan story, we have a serial killer story. So we have all these kind of, robot story. So they're all kind of characters of some sort I thought could kind of tie it together in some way.
Yeah. I remember when you came to me and you were like, I really like Discontinuance. Is there any way we could like include that and kind of help fill the gap here? I remember I had asked you, what's the container? Like, how are you stringing these stories together? Because Discontinuance is pretty different from The Loyal Remnant. And, I was like, I guess they're kind of all in that sci-fi genre. They're all subgenres of sci-fi. Mm-hmm. And I remember you and I having a few conversations, and then I remember suggesting to you that we should do it as a bunch of truck drivers listening to an Art Bell style show. And I don't know if listeners right now remember Art Bell. George Norrie took over his show when Art Bell retired, but it's a late night radio program that you could listen to when you drove all across the country, because it was re-syndicated across the country. And when I drove trucks, everybody listened to it all throughout the night. It's what kept a lot of the truck drivers awake was listening to Art Bell and all the conspiracy theories and the time travelers who came on his show to talk to him about, you know, what they were experiencing and whatnot. I thought, well, this would fit in perfectly as that sort of idea. When I first pitched that idea to you, you seemed pretty receptive to it, but you know, how did you feel about how that all came together and how that all worked out?
Well, let me just back up a little bit on that. And I had a script written already. It was called, at the time, it was called Bar Talk. And at the time, I was just going to have some writers meet up at a restaurant or a bar and discuss and pitch each other their stories. And then whatever they're talking about would happen on screen as the short film. And it was, I thought it was a cool idea, but it was very simple and just guys talking at a table. But I showed it to some people, specifically Jason Lethert, who does not mince words. He hated it. He thought it was the stupidest thing he'd ever read. He's like, do something different. So I came to you. I'm like, well, do you have any ideas? I don't, because you kind of convinced me that it was a dumb idea. It was kind of lame. It wasn't very interesting. And it was you, the one that said, you know, you need to do like a Twilight Zone, Rod Serling, something in that vein. And that's when you came up with the DJ. And then we had to have a way for the actors to be in the movie, you know, the wraparound story. So we thought, well, let's make them. You said, let's make them truckers, you know, and they can listen to the story and they'll imagine themselves, and then they're in the story. So that's when I set out to gather all the actors that were in the shorts, see if they would appear in this thing, and they all, for the most part, did.
Yeah. Once we had put it all together and finally got the truck drivers all together, and I finally got to see how all the little interstitial pieces came together with those actors playing the truckers and then leading into stories that they are the stars of. I thought it worked out really well because you can imagine them imagining themselves within the context of the story that they're listening to, which I thought was a really great way to handle it. And I thought it worked out very, very well. I mean, I pitched the idea to you, but you know, I'll be honest with you, I never know until I see it actually done if it works or not, right?
Yeah, it worked.
but I think it came together pretty well. And then we also had the. I mean, on top of just trying to coordinate getting all those actors back, we had to figure out how are we going to shoot the trucks, and you know, specifically the trucks at night, and how's this going to look? And I remember I was like, well, we can shoot them in the warehouse, and you're like, how are we going to do that? And I was like, just trust me, just trust me, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But I thought it was convincing. I thought it all turned out really well. And it was a lot of fun working with those actors because I got to co-direct those sequences with you. I thought it was really fun to give those actors a chance to play these truckers and have completely different stories for these characters within these tiny little vignettes, you know. And I thought the actors did a great job of really establishing new and unique characters for themselves within the context of those scenes versus what they're playing in their short films that they're the stars of.
Yeah, I really wanted them to be different from what they were in the shorts. Like for example, Randy, I told him, come in your most, you know, redneck outfit, with longer hair and the whole thing. So you're very different from how you were like in You Are Me. So that was pretty cool.
Well, and Randy will jump at any chance to do his drawl. So you know.
Yeah.
You want to go through some of these photos? I know we got a slideshow here of a bunch of photos.
Yeah, I can look at some of that.
Let's take a look at some of these. So here's the official poster, right?
Yeah, the final poster. I did a lot of different ideas. People like this side of the truck one the most. It's pretty cool.
I know you toyed around with a few of them that had the actors' faces and stuff on them. And I got what you were trying to do with it, but this is one of those like glimpses behind the scenes, right? Like this is the final poster that like majority of people liked. It's got nobody on it. It's the truck. It's just mood. This sets a mood, right?
Yeah, right.
Whereas I think you were trying to highlight the performers before, and my argument with you on that was, I love our actor friends, but none of them are a name. So it doesn't matter to have their face on the poster.
And I actually made that. So I kind of actually made that poster kind of for them, just to have her like almost like a keepsake. I knew it wasn't going to really work for the poster, like for the reasons you just stated, but I thought it'd be a nice way to show them their own face up on the poster.
Yeah, and it is important when you're working low budget films and you've got people who are donating their time, working for credit. working for quote unquote, exposure, it is always good to do things that recognize that effort that they put forward for you and try and show them some appreciation. But yeah, in the end, I think this was the right choice. This poster here.
Yeah.
So ultimately, how did you come to this poster? Like what was it that got you here finally?
I don't know. I just loved it. I love the sky and the truck, the way the letters are on it. I mean, it's like it's a perfect fit for what it is about. Truckers listening to a show, and it's mysterious, like the title says, and there's something at the end of it. It's kind of a Close Encounters vibe a little bit with the "We Are Not Alone," road thing. I just thought it clicked. I really did. I thought it was cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some of these pictures here and see a little bit behind the scenes here. So you want to, which one of the shorts is this from? Are these from?
So these are from Crazy Joe, which is the second short in the film, and we're doing the stuff with the car and shooting the conversation in the car, and that's a cemetery down there at the bottom in Oceanside, and there's a bar up there in Mira Mesa or Miramar, whatever. So yeah, that was my first short ever in San Diego. I moved here from the East Coast in 2009. That was my first short ever shot here. First time ever using a DP. I was my own, like I said, I did movies with my Canon GL1 in the beginning, and this is my first time with an actual DP working on it with good equipment, HD, all that.
Yeah, that's quite the car rig you got going there on that beat up old Toyota. That's
actually the same car that you can see in Your Me when Annie Willett Thomas drives away. It's the same car. You remember that?
Nice. Yeah, I do. I do remember that. I remember going frame by frame in that shot and dealing with color and whatnot. Another behind the scenes shot here. And
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about working with the child actor. How did that go, working with a child actor within the confines of your short film?
Well, she was great. I think she was actually about 15, but playing a 12 or 13-year-old. So she was playing younger. She seems younger than she is. And actually, ironically enough, I've kept in touch with her, and she just had a kid. So that tells you how old this movie is. We did it in 2013, and she's a mother now. But anyway,
wow.
Yeah, we auditioned a bunch of girls her age, and she had already done a couple of movies. I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but she didn't really do much after this. Unfortunately, I thought she was great, but she was a wonderful, wonderful kid to work with. Can't say enough.
Awesome.
And same with this little kid. This little kid from Stover Hill. These pictures. She really was about 9 years old, and she was really cool to work with. I guess I got pretty lucky. Tell me a little
bit about Stover Hill, because of all the ones that aren't my film in this film, this one feels kind of like the most ambitious on your side in terms of like visual effects and kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. You mentioned the Crazy Joe was like your first short film that you shot here. Where does Stover Hill fit within the kind of history of your filmmaking?
It's the second one I did here. I worked with the DP you see there on the left, Chris Patterson, and I worked on that with Crazy Joe, and he brought him back, and almost all the main cast or crew members from Crazy Joe came back to work on this. So this movie was the only time we ever used Kickstarter. I was trying to put together money for a ghost feature I had written called Mystery Highway. Never was enough for that, so we used it on this movie instead. This movie required a lot of generators. We had lights out in the front yard, if you remember, shining into the front window. And yeah, like you said, a lot of interesting effects done with After Effects, which I started learning and never got great at, but they're pretty passable, I think, in this movie. But yeah, pretty ambitious night shoot. We had Mike Braden and Yvette Angelo, I never did know. And yeah, that was the first time working with Randy, so that was a great experience. Exhausting though. Only 2 nights. Did the whole thing in 2 nights.
Yeah, this shot here on the right, all that front lights coming in through the window, right? So that's
generators.
You're talking about that you had to bring generators in for.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked this one. It was very moody. It was very, very well done. This was my first experience in seeing something that you had made. So this was before I knew you. It was also kind of my first experience with Mike Braden and Yvette. You had a really good cast in this, and I thought they did a great job.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. What was I going to say? So, yeah, we just worked all night. It was an all-night shoot, and I don't know if you are aware, but the DP of this movie has gone on to some pretty awesome things. He was a DP on the Deadliest Catch TV show, and Alaska Fisherman and all that.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite reality show. Like,
oh yeah, you like that?
Yeah,
you did that.
He's up there working on Deadliest Catch.
Yeah, he actually, I think he moved up to Alaska for quite a while, and I haven't talked to him in a while. This is the last movie I did with him, unfortunately, but yeah, he did a great job.
That's awesome. Let's see here. And which one is this one?
Oh, also, now I know what I want to say about Stover Hill real quick. Let's see, the San Diego Film Week of that year, we won second place behind the one that Neil Helford and Merrick McCarthy did, black and white noir movie that won first place. We won second place. I can't remember what it was called. Oh, Case of Evil. You remember Case of Evil?
Case of Evil. I remember that one.
Yeah, so that was cool to win a little bit of recognition for that for Stover Hill. This one, as you mentioned, is which is so different from the other ones. It's called The Loyal Remnant, and this is I guess the only one on here that I did not write or originate in any way. I was just kind of hired for. But this was for the 168 Film Festival in LA. It's not really well known out here. They take a verse from the Bible and they give you they give you 1 week to write, edit, finish the whole thing, which I thought was okay to do for 1 week. I've never been a big fan of the 48 because I just can't do it in 48 hours. But this was a week, so I figured I'll do it. So it was a good project, and I kind of, this one maybe doesn't fit perhaps the most of all of them in Mystery Highway, but it's there and it fits now.
Well, I mean, they say that projects find their place, they find their voice, they find their audience. When we make these things, we don't often know what the end game is for them at the end of the day, right? And this one also has a lot of really good acting within it, and some interesting sets. Like the locations are really interesting in this one.
Yeah, a lot of cool outdoor stuff, like a Western, like a John Ford Western or something. But and actually on this movie, I tried to get JG to be one of the truckers, but I don't know if we want to get into this, but I couldn't really. There was a SAG issue, so this ended up being a non-SAG film, and he couldn't do it for that reason. But
gotcha.
So that's when we ended up with, I think we got Raquel instead to kind of be all these actors that are the introducer of each short, and she was this movie's introducer.
Gotcha.
And Mike Peterson, here we go. This is
Mike
actually
Peterson. Yay.
This is still gonna be my favorite movie I've ever made. It's my favorite movie, You or Me. It's my favorite movie I've ever worked on. So yeah, he did a great job, and there he is in the hot garage of Jill's house, filming the lab scenes.
Yeah, I think people don't often think about the complications that arise in the films, in the making of the films, right? Like this garage looks like a cold, like underground basement within the context of the film.
Yeah.
But you guys shot this in like August or something. It was 102 degrees or something out, and this garage was just baking while you were shooting in it.
It was pretty horrible. And
I remember coming to pick up gear at the end of the day, and everybody was just like done. They were just done.
There's a shot of Teresa laying on the front carport, just laying on the cold ground. She was toast. Yeah. I think we opened the garage door. I think we opened the door like between takes or something, but it was brutal. Dumb time to film in July, August.
Yeah. And then on the right, there's your little cafe restaurant scene from the film as well. How was it working with Randy again? I mean, obviously, like working with Randy is something you've done now for a couple of pictures. You obviously have a rapport with him. You really like working with him. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to work with Randy.
Yeah, after Stover Hill, which was a great experience, I wrote this movie.
Teresa says, we look so young.
Oh, well, let's see. What is it? It is 4 years. 4 years ago. 5 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago. 5 years ago now. Yeah, it's been a while.
2008. But yeah, after working on Silver Hill with Randy, when I wrote this movie, I actually had him fully implanted in my mind to be the Grayson character. So, and he graciously said yes. But yeah, I think he's just got the best work ethic. He doesn't have any baggage or or ego to worry about. He's just great. And he's really a talented actor as well. That's why I had him cry in this movie. Unfortunately, the crying scene did get cut because it was just getting too long, too drawn out. But he did a big emotional cry scene, which I thought he was great at.
Yeah, and he did one of those for us in the movie that he did for us the year before.
Forever My Love.
Yeah, and he's great at those emotional scenes. He really likes doing the impersonations, the Matthew McConaughey stuff, the redneck stuff, whatever.
Right.
But for me personally, I love when Randy Davison is all in emotionally. I think he's got a everyman quality to him, and when you see him breaking down, when you see him broken, you can't help but just be there with him,
Yeah.
And I think he's got a great ability to just grab an audience like that. You look evil in this photo. Everybody else is smiling, you're smirking behind them.
Well, you know how stressful filmmaking is, and it's stressful emotionally and physically. But yeah, I'm always pretty wiped out.
And financially.
I almost said that.
Annie in this film I thought was really, really good as well. Tell me a little bit about working with Annie.
I thought that this movie, perhaps, I don't know, better than any other I've ever worked on, was the best cast. I mean, this was like one of those lightning in a bottle casts. I thought her and Randy had just the greatest chemistry. They really felt like a married couple and all that. She was great. I looked at a lot of actresses before kind of discovering her, and when I did, I said I got to have her, and she was the one. And luckily, she really liked the script, and she was a gem to work with. I mean, very just right on the character, and she understood the character. She got the movie. She was surprised by the ending, and which is good. So I had her fooled, and she knew she could fool the audience by doing the role.
Yeah, she's very much like Randy. I think she's got that every woman quality to her. She looks like the kind of woman that you want to be with, you want to have in your family and be a part of your life. And you're trying to sell a story here where two people are so in love with each other that they go to drastic lengths to kind of stay together, and it's believable. The two of them, I think, is really good. Let's see here.
It's not a mystery that in the context of Mystery Highway, the Randy goes, he saved the best one for last, and this is the last movie in that movie, so it wasn't a coincidence. Here's Randy doing his dual role, split screen shot that you were so great in, because I remember his hand crossed over and you had to rotoscope it out.
Oh yeah. It's funny, the blending of the two shots wasn't always as easy as you think, because the camera got moved just a tiny little bit, and so I had to do a lot of work to make the frames match up. But yeah, there's one spot specifically where Randy's hand crosses over where Randy's sitting, and I had to rotoscope every frame and make sure that we cut his fingers around so that it was seamless. And I thought it was very effective. I thought it worked out really, really well.
It did, and it kind of comes across. We didn't want to showcase look at us doing split screen. Aren't we cool? Let's just do it to death. But we didn't. We kind of kept it minimal and just made it as if it really was two people. Didn't make a big deal about it.
Yeah, and I think just filmmaker to filmmaker, I think it's best when the visual effects just serve the story and don't draw attention to themselves, right? If you're making a visual effects is like, hey, look at me.
Exactly.
It's like, why do you have to work so hard to make people see the visual effect? The visual effect should just seamlessly fit into the story, right?
And you did a lot of color correction. You did you did some artificial depth of field stuff. I know you did a lot of work on this movie. You did some ADR, so you were a big part of this movie. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. It was an ambitious project, and I was happy to lend a hand and help get it done. Let's see here.
So this one was called Dark Chocolate, and that's Christopher Sandana and the late great Danny Morris. Actually, the pictures on the right are not related to that, as you know.
No,
but
this was just kind of a collection of films that didn't have like BTS.
This is a movie that Chris Patterson, my DP from those other older movies, also did, and I was an AC on this movie, and I edited this movie. So I asked the director and producer if we could use it for this, because I kind of thought it fit into the whole macabre kind of character. He's a serial killer. Not to give a spoiler away, but like I just did. But yeah, that was a good project. I thought it would fit in well. And then yours, of course, your film Discontinuance on the right.
Yeah, Whitney is a co-star in that, and Shane there is our lead. That film, interesting. So you mentioned earlier you didn't like the 48 because it's tough to get anything done. Discontinuance is a 48-hour film project film.
Wow, that's a lot.
And we did 2 films that weekend that had all the visual effects with the aliens and everything in it. So we actually shot 2 short films in a 48-hour period. That's writing, casting, shooting, editing, scoring, and delivering. So and we got both of them in on time.
Amazing.
So my team is like incredible. Like we've been able to pull off amazing things in really short periods of time. Now I just need money and time. I've proven we can do the hard things. Now if we can like get the money and the time, I think we could do really incredible work.
I think so too. I think so.
But I thought Shane and Whitney were great in these 2 films. I think Discontinuance of the 2, the other one,
Dark Chocolate.
The other one is the one that I directed. This one was directed by my buddy Diego and Leon, and Mike Peterson DP'd this one as well. Same as
you're talking about was that the sequel really to Discontinuance?
They're not really. It's not a sequel thing. Like they're congruent stories. Like they happen at the same time. So they actually share story beats at the beginning, but then the endings, the middle part then kind of diverges on their 2 separate stories, and then the characters come together at the end. But even the ending is shown from kind of the opposite perspective of each character. It was a really ambitious weekend.
No kidding.
So we had 2 different screenwriters. They had to work together. Yeah, Bittersweet Fortune, that's the name of the other one. We had 2 screenwriters work together. We had 2 DPs. The actors worked on both films. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. And then we had a visual effects team that was working through the entire weekend. So as soon as the like concept was made, and I went off to write the script with Marilyn Bates, I forget who wrote the other one. Our 2 screenwriters went and wrote their scripts. While they're writing scripts, the visual effects team's starting to work on the visual effects, like without a single frame of the film having been shot. They're creating creatures. They're kind of putting all that stuff together. Yeah, Mike just chimed in, helped me on the name.
Bittersweet. Right.
So yeah, it was quite the weekend.
I love Shane. I've always wanted to work with Shane, I guess, and now I kind of indirectly got to by having him in our movie here.
Shane is a wonderful actor. He's very dedicated to character, to finding the voice of his character, to the physicality, like all the little details. He's a very, very good person to work with. So dedicated to his craft. I can't recommend casting him and stuff enough.
He got to work with Eastwood on that Tom Hanks airplane movie. I forget what it was called.
Sully.
But, yeah. I was very jealous of that. That's cool.
So here's some behind the scenes on the trucker sequences. So we got Randy there playing the redneck trucker. Whitney playing his kind of like object of affection, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he the object? Yeah. So
He
we got
sings
Mike
to her.
Mike lighting the scene. So
Yeah, he
he
sings
does sing to her.
that song. He's doing a terrible job on purpose, but she had great reactions and great chemistry. I thought she did great in this. She's very natural.
And I think part of what's really fun with this sequence is none of these actors acted opposite each other. They did all of their sequences completely in a void. It's very close to doing like voiceover acting, right? Where you don't, you just record your lines. So they just recorded their lines, and then it all comes together in the edit because they're able to imagine what the lines are being fed to them. It's real acting work going on in these truck scenes. Hey, check this out. Check this out. Easter Sandy Romero, my auntie in the Philippines. Hi, auntie.
How cool.
So cool that you're watching. Hi.
Philippines.
That's amazing.
Also,
how small the world's getting.
even weirder on that note is that it's pretty much the same truck throughout the whole movie. I think you had a second truck at one point.
We had a van for the girls. I think the girls are sitting in a van, and then all the guys are in the truck, and we kind of redressed the truck a little bit between characters, like different kind of backdrops behind them, slightly different lighting setups so they don't look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a really fun challenge trying to make that work. But the kicker was, and I think we have it here. So you can see here in these shots, we've got a screen like above the windshield. And we're actually projecting freeway lights. So Mike Peterson and I actually rode in this truck on one of our gigs that we were working on. And I sat there with the Black Magic and shot footage out the windshield and then shot footage out the driver window. Like I'm holding the camera in front of him while he's driving, getting all the lights passing by. And so we have two sets of projection screens in this warehouse, and we're projecting side moving lights and windshield lights onto the windshield. That's how you can see the light bouncing on the windshield in these shots.
I think it was
quite a lot of work.
it was brilliant. I mean, it's the traditional poor man's process, but you guys took it to another level with the lights on the windshield. I mean, you can see them all over the windshield in that shot, and it's just brilliant.
Well, and it's cool because it also like made light reflections on the body of the truck too. So like you'd see a vehicle kind of reflected in the sidewall of the truck, and then that light would go away, and then you'd see the light move past the window. So it felt very much like it's actually happening. It's actually there. It was really cool. Hey, real quick, my friend Christina's tuned in from Florida. Hi, Christina. Thanks for joining us. And Teresa wants to remind us that she's on the back of the truck bouncing on the back bumper to make it look like the truck's moving.
Which is very important. It had to have movement.
Low key effect there, but again, serving the purpose, right? Much fun. And she also wanted to say hi to our auntie.
Your auntie. I've had people look at this and not have anything to say about the truck. They just assume we're really just hooked up to the side of the truck driving along. No one ever knows it's an effect, and I guess that's the greatest compliment there is.
Yeah, so that shot of me in the bottom right corner is basically from the perspective of where that big photo's taken from. So you can see like that truck is literally just sitting in a warehouse. Did not go anywhere.
Can you still hear me? I have a
yeah, I can still hear you.
Low power morning on my AirPods for some reason. I might have to go rogue and go normal in a bit here.
Well, here's another shot. You can see that other projection screen in the background there. We don't have anything projecting on it in this shot, but you can see how we were framing this all up.
Yeah.
So the magic of movie making. And then a little behind the scene green room shot of you guys over there on the right.
Yep. That's the first night of shooting. Well, we only shot 2 nights, but that was the first night. And yeah, really fun project. Ladies were great.
Yeah, the ladies did a wonderful job. And then the last bit here is, you had to do the DJ, and I wasn't part of this shot at all. And the lower right there is kind of showing the setup. The shot on the left kind of shows how the set kind of came together. And then that top right photo is really a screen grab from the movie, so you can see the kind of atmospheric look that it looks like a garage, right? He's in a garage.
It is
So
a garage,
shot
one
another
car garage,
but made it look like something else.
Yeah, it's the same house where we did the shots, the scenes from. Well, actually, it's the same house from Stover Hill and Yoramie's bedroom scene, so it's that same place.
There you go.
But
Gotcha.
yeah, it worked out well. We did that whole set dressing and all that. Walter now is Ad Junior. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he did a great job in that role. Something Whitney told me is she watched the movie with her father in Atlanta during the holiday break, and as soon as the whole thing started and our character introduces himself, what do we call him? George Bell?
Yeah, George
so
Bell.
we mixed George Norrie and Art Bell's names together, right? Like it's real tongue-in-cheek, like wink at the camera kind of thing for people who know. Right. Her dad knew. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I totally know what you're doing here. This is great." Like he loved it.
Plus the call letters.
She messaged me. She messaged me excited. She's like, "My dad totally got the Art Bell reference."
The call letters cool. Too. I mean, I think you're the one that came up with the call letters for it being
Klaatu, like, KLTU.
Yeah.
Klaatu Barada Niktu.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everything's got a reference.
Yeah.
I love doing that sort of stuff within movies, and it's just really loading stuff up for people who are paying attention and people who kind of have a geek sensibility like I do. Like if you can fill that stuff in and they got Easter eggs to look for, if they catch it on the first go, that's great. If they know that you're the type of filmmaker that does that, then things are infinitely rewatchable because they're constantly looking for new stuff to look at, So I just enjoy that. I love that in the types of movies that I like to watch. And
well, I tried to make You or Me like that, because I mean, there's a number of times when Annie says that she's dead, or she's you think she's saying she's tired, but she's saying, "Oh, I'm just really dead." Well, we're giving away the secret right there and then that she actually is dead. So I love that where you have to kind of watch it again to catch stuff like that.
Well, and I remember I played around a bit with the color correction on all that too. So like, it's real subtle, but the subtle color differences between shots tell you if someone's dead or someone's alive as well. So there's a lot of that sort of stuff going on within that movie.
Yeah, the green.
So what are you up to these days, Clarke? Are you working on anything new? Are you getting ready to make another film, or what's going on in Time Axis Entertainment?
I seem to make a short film like every 3 years as an average. And by the way, let me know if my audio dies. It could die any second. I'm not sure if my AirPods go directly to the computer microphone after they die or what happens, but anyway,
we'll figure it out.
It's been about 3-4 something years since we did You or Me, and well, it's only been 2 years since we did really the trucker scenes, I think, for Mystery Highway. But anyway, I wrote a kind of more or less comedic short that's in the same universe as You or Me, believe it or not, because You or Me is a very tragic, sad story. I wanted to make something a much lighter tone, and so it's in the same universe. It's going to have Randy coming back to play sort of the robot that died at the end, and he's going to be mass produced as a kind of an Alexa in people's homes, where he's like he washes the dishes and cooks and cleans, and then he gets a computer virus, and then bad things happen. So that's kind of what I'm looking at next. It's called Grayson 2.0, and I'm kind of in pre-production right now.
Nice. Where can people watch Mystery Highway? I believe it's on Amazon and Apple TV for rent and purchase, right? Where else can they see it?
I guess that's the main one that actually charges money, but it's also at Tubi for free with ads, and then it's on Reveal, which is another free platform. REVEEL. Not many people have heard of it, but it's a lot of content on there. And then there were some other places that Film Hub sent it to that I've never heard of. I've never even really looked into it, but some odd names of some of them I think are foreign, and so that's where it's at. It's also on YouTube, but I haven't figured out how to make it a monetary thing. It's just on my private link on YouTube for now.
Yeah, yeah. Let it get its payoff run before you switch it to free.
Yeah.
Well, Clark, it was a pleasure to work on this film with you. I'm glad that you were able to get it done, get it out. I know the ultimate distribution plan for it when we started putting it together as a feature, like that all kind of fell apart. But that's kind of the way this business works, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, best intentions, and then you kind of, bob and weave and find your way through and just get it done in the end, right?
Yeah. It was a great project. I'm really, really happy with it. Really proud of how it's gone to places, via Film Hub. And I didn't know if anyone, it actually took me a long time to get it accepted and QC'd through Film Hub. It was a lot of red tape and hoops to go through, but it worked out in the end. And I was really pleased that they finally took it and sent it someplace.
Well, I'm going through distribution approvals right now for the feature film that I just finished editing in the last couple months, and the back and forth. It's my first 5.1 surround sound edit too, so it's just like, oh, you need to do this, and we gotta have this, and it's not enough. There's not enough Foley, and it's like, hey, dude, like, it's a super low budget movie. We don't have a Foley department. Like, just like, chill out. So, but yeah, the expectations keep rising with each film that I work on, and each release it gets more and more complicated to pass the QCs. So,
well, before we go, I don't know how much time you wanted to for this podcast to last, but
we're just about done.
I just want to say I'm hoping this will keep going and invite other filmmakers to have their shorts, have another Mystery Highway 2, and have it keep on going. We could just kind of do this endlessly with people that have their shorts already done, and they can, in one sense, this is a movie that's already 80% done. Just have to do the wrapper parts, and then there's a feature. And I thought it's a good way to drag movies out of the closet that are just gathering dust and have their film festival run already, and now let's do something else with them. So.
Yeah, and it's a more palatable way to kind of share your short film with the world.
Again, yeah, like after it's already had its run.
Yeah. So, well, cool, Clark. Thank you for joining us on the podcast, giving us a little glimpse behind the scenes on Mystery Highway. Again, congratulations on getting it completed. As I say all the time on this show, any film that's completed is a small miracle.
Yeah.
And to get it out there and distributed on various platforms is another miracle on top of the completion of it. So,
indeed,
kudos to you. I know personally the efforts you went through to try and pass those QCs, and I know how frustrated you were.
And you helped a lot with, figuring out audio levels and all kinds of stuff you were very helpful with too. So.
Yeah. Well, and that was part of the difficulty of these already made films too, though, right? Like, didn't necessarily have access to all of the original mixes and the ability to kind of really tweak the audio. So you had to work with what was already done. And that's not an easy feat. So
with Dark Chocolate was just an MP3 file, MP4 file, and that was it. That's all I had to work with. So luckily it was pretty high res to begin with, but I couldn't do any tweaking of any kind.
Yeah, definitely. I've over the last few years gotten to a point where like every project has its own hard drives, and I just keep everything on their own independent drives going forward. So. Yeah, there they are. All right, Clark. Well, you have a wonderful night. Have a good day at work tomorrow, I guess.
You too. And thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And to all of the people who tuned in tonight, thank you for joining us. My auntie in the Philippines. How cool is that? So awesome. Today was my mother's birthday too, so it's really kind of like, my mom's heavenly birthday, and her sister joined the show to watch us today. So that's a special moment for me. So,
the way that you and I kind of met is because we unfortunately have this mutual coincidence. Both of our mothers, I think, passed away within like a year of each other. And that's kind of how we got to talking about our grief and all that. And that's kind of how we got to know each other at first. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. You bond over the things that are common, right? And unfortunately, grief oftentimes is a bonding element. So, but I think our moms would be proud of us. We're moving forward. We're still creating, and we're taking care of our families and doing what we can for our friends, so be good to each other. That's all we can do.
Be good and be healthy too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Clarke, you take care. All of our people who are watching, if you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching us on Facebook, please like the page, subscribe if you're on YouTube, do all the follow things. If you're catching us on the podcast and listening to us on Spotify, guess what? You can watch this video on Spotify as well. If you're listening to the podcast on any of the audio-only platforms, contemplate subscribing on Spotify, or check us out on YouTube and subscribe to us on YouTube so that you can see the podcast as well. In instances like this where we had photos to share and whatnot, that could enhance your enjoyment of the program. Until next time, folks, I'm David S. Dawson with the IntelleXual Podcast. My guest has been Clarke M. Smith of Time Axis Entertainment, and we will see you all again down the road.
Hello there, citizens. I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the floaty that will not flush no matter how many times you try in the toilet bowl of crime. I am Darkwing Duck, telling you please, talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. Whatever the heck that means. After all, you are watching IntelleXual Podcast with your ears.